Hello and good evening. This is another episode of National Divorce Talk Raw. The title of this episode is Norm MacDonald Isn't Funny or Right About America. Now, I got to meet Norm MacDonald as a boy. My stepfather was a grip, the guy who sets up lights, and he got to set up the lights for the Norm MacDonald show. At that time, I was able to meet Mr. MacDonald, and he seemed like a very nice man, very cordial. But I'm going to show you a clip from something he said, which is the exact opposite of understanding here at Yes California about America, and something he said about Trump, which we also don't agree with here. Trump is a bad person. Trump is the opposite of California values, and we don't like him here. That being said, what I'm going to show you with the Norm MacDonald clip shows that he's not funny or he's right about America, unfortunately. And the reason we want to show this to you, and I need to put the caveat in, is that we slam Donald Trump here all the time. And the reason for that is not to make conservatives mad. Yes, California is actually committed to peaceful and legal secession by obtaining votes from red states. We might be the only liberals willing to work with conservatives towards national divorce peacefully. While you may hear other liberals talk about divorce and secession, we don't really see them reaching out to conservatives in 35 red states in order to obtain the votes that it would take to legally do that, which is the only peaceful way to do this. So while we get a lot of people in California criticizing us for talking to conservatives, our response is, if you're not talking to conservatives, then how are you for peaceful and legal secession? And if you're not for peaceful and legal secession, how are you not for violent secession? See how that works? If you aren't outlining a legal path, then you're going to pursue a not legal path. Legal path, peaceful. Not legal path, violent. We're willing to work with conservatives because we want 35 red state votes, because we think we can legally secede them. And so we want to talk to people to get the votes set up. If you're not willing to talk to conservatives, how are you going to get the votes? And if you're not seriously considering getting the votes, what's your plan to secede, given that Texas versus White is the only Supreme Court case to talk about secession and laid out only one legal method, which was consent of the states? So, yes, California is committed to peaceful and legal secession by obtaining votes from red states. We're the only liberals out there, but we do need help from red states. As I've talked to conservatives many times, I always say the one message: we need your help getting word out there that there are easily 35 states that would vote us off the island. Here in California, Californians were lied to by California and liberal media. We were told that we would never get the votes, that as much as conservatives say or purport that they don't like California, secretly all of you conservatives would be weeping in the streets because a star had fallen from the flag. And despite of everything you say, you really secretly love us here in California. I know that's garbage because my family's from the South and I've traveled to red states. And I've talked to a lot of red states, and they don't talk that way. We could easily get the votes. But Cal Exit never got that big here in California, or big enough to win, because the media here said we could never get the votes. The media here said you will never get 35 states to vote for you. They'll never do it. Their love for America is more important than their hate for you. And we said, you're lying. They hate us that bad that they would vote us off the island. Now, most Californians believe what the media told them here. You're never going to get the votes. We know that's a lie. We at Yes California are possibly the only liberals in California who know that's a lie, that this is the truth. The only way we can do that is if we can get conservatives in those 35 states to start publicly and in a big demonstrative way say, we will vote you out. That is the way that we could overcome the media in California to get the message to Californians that actually the votes are there. Because in our opinion, Californians would secede tomorrow if they thought it was reasonable. They don't think it's reasonable because they've been lied to and told you can't do it, or even if it was legal, you could never get the votes. The only way we can convince and overwhelm the California media is by having conservatives point out, I'm a conservative, I live in a red state, and yes, we would vote you out. So that's up to you. Conservatives can help us. We can also take donations, but only from U.S. citizens, only through U.S.-based banks. So if you are an American citizen and you want to donate to us, you can be a Californian who wants to save yourself. You could be a conservative who wants Californians to not interfere with real America anymore. You could be a conservative who wants California to not interfere with real America anymore. So, want CA to interfere with real America anymore. Only one way. Vote us off the island. So if you don't want California to interfere with real America and screw up real America, and you're one of those conservatives, 35 states, there's only way to do that. You got to vote us off the island. And you can easily get California out of the island if you can convince Californians that their California media is lying to them. So if you're a conservative and you're in one of those 35 states and you're like, boy, I'd be love it if California would take off, you can make that happen. Our media has people here convinced that you conservatives in 35 red states would never vote us out. I know that's not true. But until conservatives in 35 states make it overwhelmingly obvious they would vote us out, we can't defeat the California media narrative. If that California media narrative is defeated, then what's going to happen is for the first time, Californians are going to have to say, well, it is totally legal and we could actually do it completely legally. They don't know that yet. We spent the last couple of years here at Yes California convincing Californians that you could survive economically as a nation. That took for years. Now we got it to where Californians know they could survive independently, but they go, well, there's no real way to make it happen. We never get the votes. The votes are there, and there is a legal process. And if you can help us get that message writ large, we can overwhelm the California media and punch past the California media to the California people and let them know this is possible. And once the California people know that, well, CalExit would happen shortly. And how do we know that? Because the media has worked nonstop to keep lying. I mean, if we were wrong, why did they keep lying about these key points? Like, first they said Texas versus white doesn't exist. Then we challenged them for a year, and then they backed down and said Texas versus white exists. And then they said, but it doesn't say you can secede. And we go, well, that's a lie too. There's a phrase called consent to the states. And we spent another year and a half fighting with the media. And finally, we got the media to admit, yes, Texas versus white exists. Yes, it is the only Supreme Court case on secession. And yes, it does say you can secede legally. That was a 2.5-year battle just to get those facts out. You see what's going on, right? Like, why can't the media here in California just admit the Supreme Court only looked at secession once? And why can't they admit Texas versus white exists? And why can't they admit that it literally says the phrase consent to the states? You know, why did we have to fight with multiple professors and multiple news agencies to get the truth out? 30 different California newspapers got this wrong. Why did we have to correct them to get the truth out there? For the same reason they don't want you guys, now that we've defeated those points, they don't want you to get the truth out to Californians that the votes are actually there and you could easily vote. You could easily get off the island, California. 35 states would be willing to vote you out. That's all you need. The votes are already there. So they're holding on to this one last lie that we can't get 35 states to vote us out. We need that to be proven true. That can really only come from the South and the red states. And so that's why we are committed to getting word out that there are easily 35 states that would vote us off. That's why we're committed to working with conservatives toward national divorce peacefully. And that's why we're working with red states to get the votes. And you can either help us get publicity, or if you'd like to take donations, you must be a U.S. citizen, and it has to be through a U.S. bank. Or you can just help us get the truth out that this is true, this statement right here. That would be the big thing ever. And if you don't, then Californians are going to be continuing to interfere with real America for a very long time. It's called California imperialism. If you look at the book Secession by F.H. Buckley, he was a speechwriter for Donald Trump. He said, yes, California, the CalExit movement was the most likely to succeed at secession. Second statement he said was, California has a practice of California imperialism, which means none of your laws, federal government, on us, but our California laws definitely need to be forced on you. So even when we're arguing about federal laws infringing on our rights, we will still be pushing the federal government for laws that we feel are appropriate to be pushed upon you. So rules for you, but none of your rules for me. Imperialism. That's how Californians are. Like I said, we might be the only liberals willing to work with conservatives to vote us off peacefully, because here in CalExit, we recognize that you constantly push people and push people and push people, and sometimes they push back. And then things get real bad, and we are committed to peaceful and legal. And we think the pushback is going to be very bad, and we think we're seeing it right now. And the way to do that is to relieve the pressure. Stop pushing people. Calm it down. Return to peaceful dialogue. That's what we say. Want to make sure that message got out there. And real quick, here's the video from Norm MacDonald, proving that Norm MacDonald isn't really funny or right about America. Here you go. Let's show you that.
Even is going that way, but if people are afraid of that, I think our democracy denies that.
You think he's demagogic? That's not a word, is it?
Demagogic? Yeah, that's a word. Well, I guess by dictionary definition he is, because he's, I think maybe the ruin of Donald Trump will be this addiction to playing the halls. You know what I mean? That maybe he doesn't want to be president of the United States as much as he wants to be the president of whatever room he's playing that night.
So that was Norm MacDonald's tongue-in-cheek joke that Donald Trump doesn't really want to be president. He just wants to be the man in control of the room in whatever situation he is, that he's basically a comedian and an entertainer. And he says wild and crazy things because he just wants to be the center of attention in whatever room he's in, maybe. But I also think the man wants to remake the Republican Party. And he's basically done that. Norm MacDonald completely is naive at seeing how much damage and purposeful construction of an alternative party Trump has done with the Republicans. Secondly, Norm MacDonald is really wrong that democracy is strong enough to withhold someone like Donald Trump. And he did that in interview after the January 6th riot. So I don't know what he's talking about. I don't think it's funny to laugh it off like, hey, Donald Trump's just another comedian like the rest of us, especially when the guy's destroying America and he's so anti-California values and he targeted California. And I don't think it's appropriate to say in any capacity that American democracy is strong enough to resist him. Clearly it wasn't. Californians were terrified. If he comes back, it's going to be even worse for Californians. Okay, we'll take some comments. If they're good, we'll post them. Daniel says, yes, I would like to work with conservatives at a person. And absolutely, we're all for that. So we'll leave it there. Thank you guys, and we'll see you later.